All right, so we're back with this isn't a member interview, but this is an Ask the Experts um, episode, and I'm over the moon. Really excited to talk to Dr. Lauren Powell. Excuse me, Dr. Lauren Powell. Please let us know why the heck you're here and you're smiling so large.
Well, Nick, I'm just so happy to be here and talking to you and hanging out with you. But my name is Dr. Lauren Powell. I'm a board certified family medicine physician. I'm also known as the culinary doctor, and that's because I like to teach people about food. I believe that food is one of the most powerful drugs that we have. And so it is my goal and my mission to kind of educate the role that food really plays in our health. So many of our chronic diseases are directly related to our diets. And sometimes the reason that we see conditions that run in entire families is because everybody is eating and cooking the same way. So my goal is to kind of try to end some of those generational patterns so that we can like be healthier and just
Yeah,
live better lives,
you
That
know,
like simply that.
I love that you say generational. I kind of feel, and this is only anecdotal from what I've experienced in life, but I kind of feel cooking is a lost art. And I think lost art is even putting it like too much pressure on it. People don't even like to prepare their own food. So it's kind of like we need to get back to basics. And back when we had home ec in high school, that was a lot of fun. I don't know if home ec is even a thing anymore. So when you talk about generational, I think you hit the nail on the head. What's your experience with learning to cook? Did you start as a kid? Do you have friends that cook?
So actually my mom is an amazing cook.
Mm.
So and she not only is an amazing cook, but she like loves to cook. Like she loves to cook for you. Like it brings her joy. And
Oh,
so growing up, my mom would cook every single day. My parents owned dry cleaners growing up, so they would always get home pretty late. And so my mom would cook a full meal, no matter what time it was. She got home 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. She was going to cook us a full meal.
hmm
And so I would just sit at the counter and I would just kind of keep her company while she cooked. And
oh,
so it really wasn't until I got married, which is right after I finished medical school, where I had to like cook for myself or cook for my husband. I basically realized if I don't do it, we're basically going to be eating, Uber Eats every day. So I was like, I have to get this together because I'm not only responsible for my own health, but I like by cooking for my husband, I'm kind of taking a little responsibility in his health.
yeah,
And so, I mean, I would just kind of call my mom and I'd say, like, Mom, you know that one thing you used to make? Like, tell me again how it is. But because I had watched her so much
yeah,
that it was just, I kind of like fell into it a little bit easier. And then the more I learned about food and some of the medicinal properties of things, I kind of took some of her traditional dishes and I said, well, how can I just make this healthier? How can I, add something that would be low carb or, have a lower sodium intake or high protein or more fiber. And so I kind of took some of her dishes and changed them around. And then that just kind of evolved into me kind of creating some of my own things.
yeah.
So now I'm like the same as my mom. Like I love to cook and I love to cook for people. Like it's so much joy to like feed someone. And especially when I know I'm putting things in their body that
Sure.
are going to like serve their body so well. It's like a gift. It's like a gift to feed people.
Oh, it's a win-win if you're able to partner up flavor and then the healthy outcome. I mean, that's huge. And it's so again, the generational thing, you grew up with it, right? And it's amazing you've kind of now carried the torch.
Yeah.
Um, maybe one day there's someone who's going to be sitting by the kitchen table watching you the entire time. So
Yeah.
really, it kind of begins and ends with us. But then, kind of like how the name gets carried on in your legacy. If you're not setting that example, you might be ending it for the next generation. I similar to you. So, um, growing up, my parents were hustlers, and
Mhm.
at the end of the day, they still got to work, and they got in the kitchen, and they put a warm meal that was complete
Mm.
on the plates, right? And it wasn't just like popping something in the microwave. It was, and when I say thoughtful, it was thoughtful in the sense that it wasn't something in the microwave. I guess that's the difference, right? And it
Yeah.
was whole foods. And I
Yeah.
think this is what kind of made me laugh was you're like, oh well, I thought about my mom's recipes, and then how can I make it a little bit healthier? So same. I'm the son of two Italian immigrants, uh, and they make incredibly healthy food. It's southern Italy. It's by and
Mhm.
large vegetables, but they know how to indulge,
Yeah.
and which always I always go back to thinking, they indulged, but still somehow we're a heavier and unhealthier population now than when our parents were really our age. Do you
Yeah.
have any idea how that could be?
I mean, I think it's multiple. I think we're just consuming more food.
Mm.
I read an article that said the average American is eating 18 to 16 to 18 hours out of the day. That's like the whole day. I mean, you're basically waking up and eating until you go to sleep. I mean,
Yeah.
so I think we're overall consuming more food and I think we're moving less,
Hmm.
and then we want this fast, quick, easy meals. And, you talked about the cooking thing. Like, the thing that I'm driving home to my patients is I just want you to cook something, because if you don't, you're setting up your family for a lifetime of just drive-through food. Like,
Yeah.
if that's all you do and that's what you're modeling for them, like, where else are they going to learn it from? Like, they're not learning it in school. And
No.
so if we don't teach our family and we don't teach our kid, we don't teach our legacy how to be healthy, like, they're not going to learn it anywhere else. It's just not going to happen.
You know what? It just struck me too. It's also incredibly expensive to eat out or to order. We're both saving money, getting healthier, building bonds. I mean, I cannot speak to the aspect of cooking enough. Enough. Um, yeah, I mean, so when you're preparing, let's go back to we're in Dr. Lauren's kitchen. How do you even set things up? Because the first thing that really kind of gets people on their heels when they're not cooks is I don't know where to start. So if you're talking to me and I don't know anything about cooking and I'm not really into knowing enough about health, how do you how do you put me on my bike with my training wheels?
Yeah, so I always encourage people to, like, um don't give yourself so much pressure. Like, not every meal has to be like a full Thanksgiving dinner with like 3 to 4 courses. Like, that's too much pressure. It's
Yeah,
really too much pressure. So I would say think of three components. Think of your protein, think of your carb or your starch, and think of your vegetable. So you have three things that you have to make. And some of those you can make in bulk so that you don't have to make them multiple days in a row,
sure.
and then just rotate them. So, what protein do you want to eat today? Do you want to eat chicken? Do you want to eat fish? Do you want to eat turkey? Do you want to have beans? Do you want to do meatless? So, like, just pick one. And then I always encourage people to eat in season. So, what vegetables are in season? And when a vegetable is in season, number one, if you go to your farmer's market and it's plentiful, but if you don't have access to a farmer's market, what vegetables are on sale at the grocery store? Because usually what's on sale is what's in season because it's so plentiful. So right now it's like fall, winter. So it's like the kale, it's the greens, it's the squash, this is zucchini, and that's the stuff that's on sale.
Yeah.
So pick your vegetables that are on sale and then pick whatever carb you want. Do you want to try some sweet potatoes? Would you like to do some quinoa? Would you like brown rice? Pick one. And like that's it.
You know what's funny? What I just thought of, and if you've come to know me, you realize I'm constantly having like random ideas. So it just recently Netflix updated its app or whatever you want to call it, and there's actually a option now when you turn on your Netflix that it will automatically start a random program
Hmm.
because there's so many people now that like go on Netflix and they lose time looking for something. And I thought that was really clever. It reminds me of Spotify. You could play anything random or whatever. How great would that be if there's just like a random recipe within skill sets, right? You keep it
Yeah.
basic because that way I think some of the biggest issues that encumber people might be they even know what they want to make, but they don't know if they want to have that tomorrow or today. And it's just so many roadblocks. And I think roadblocks is just a fancy and nice word of saying excuses, frankly.
But that's why, like, the Blue Apron and those things I think are great. Like the
Yeah.
meal delivery, it takes all the guesswork out. You don't have to plan your meals. You don't have to grocery shop, but you still kind of get like that feel and the experience of cooking because you still have
Yeah.
to prepare everything. But all
Sure.
the guesswork is done, and then you can pick like if you want to do kind of lower carb or if you want to do vegetarian. You can kind of pick and choose, and it's pretty affordable. Like if you think about how much you spend between grocery shopping and time and actual money,
Sure.
It's pretty comparable. So for some of my patients who they're like, Doc, I don't even know what to do. I don't know where to start. I always suggest some of the meal delivery services, even if it's just a way to get started, right? Because like even if you do it for 3 months and you master a couple meals, now you can do it on your own.
Yep. Yep. First off, I I wish all doctors were like you. P.S. You are a medical doctor, and still we're talking about the very basic tenets of health. And so, first off, I cannot like applaud you enough for that. I think that is so admirable, and it's so innate. Like we can all do that. It's a low barrier of entry, right? We could all have health if we just start ourselves and in the kitchen. So I have to commend you. Like I
Thank
love
you.
that so much. I've experienced some, you know, visits at the doctor, and I'm like, oh, but they don't even know anything about health. It's more
It's
reactive
hard.
versus proactive.
It's hard because a lot of times when patients come and see us, we're so busy trying to put out fires that I sometimes don't have time to talk to you about how to prevent a fire from starting because you've come to me with so many fires.
Yeah,
And so it's hard, and so it takes both parties to do this health thing. Health
yeah,
doesn't happen on its own.
sure.
It definitely takes work. It definitely takes, planning. It takes resources. And so you have to have two willing participants to make it happen.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you have to go home and implement everything. So we can come up with all the plans and talk about all the good stuff, but you have to go home with yourself every day and you have to go home with the kids and you have to go home with the working all day and you have to figure that out.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah, no, it's so true, and having empathy obviously is a big deal. You know, understanding that there's challenges and there's so many hours in a day. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's you come from a good point. Um, you yourself, you're saying, oh well, Blue Apron is good and all this. You have your own kind of set of not products, but I guess so. I don't want to call them products because we're not doing business here. We're enlightening people. So you also have do you have a recipe subscription?
Yeah, well, it's more than a recipe subscription. So it's like a membership, and
Okay.
it's basically where I work with women. And because I believe if you want to make real change in families and communities, you got to start with the women, right? We're the ones that are going to kick your butt. And so, like really working with women on food and health. So all these conversations that I feel like I don't have enough time to talk about in the doctor's office, I'm having there. So once a week, either I'm teaching or I have one of my colleagues teaching. And so, for instance, last week we talked about stress and eating, right? Like it's the holidays, and so that can be stressful for a lot of people. So how do we manage emotional eating? So I had a board certified psychiatrist come and talk to us about that. I had a pediatric cardiologist come talk to us about how we can get our kids to eat more vegetables because we kind of need to set them up too. We're the ones responsible for developing that palate. I talk about food and diabetes, food and cancer. I talk about inflammation. So we talk about something and I teach about something every week. And then once a month, we get together in Zoom and we have a virtual cooking class. So I
Oh,
email them the grocery list a week before. They get their groceries. And it's so fun because they're cooking with things that they haven't cooked with before, most likely. But it's like a very comfortable and safe environment. Like I'm right here with you. It's fail proof because we're going to do it together. And then at the end, they get this wonderful meal that they get to share with their family. And they're so proud of themselves that they created something that they would have never made on their own. And then once a month, we also work out virtually together. I have a personal trainer who comes in and he kicks our butt. So it's just a really great experience. I want wellness for all women. I want it for all of us. And I feel like we can all get it. Sometimes we just need some guidance and some help. And so my membership is only $22 a month. And that's because I just want it accessible to people. Like there's so many barriers to health. There's so many barriers to healthcare. And so I wanted something that was like a no barrier thing. Like $22 a month to speak to a doctor once a week about something, to do a virtual cooking class, to work out together once a month, and for community. Like you can't really beat that.
it's the whole bundle, and I think you can't approach it from one angle. You just can't, right? So let's just say you do finally find out how to cook. You said it before. We're simply just not moving as much, and there's a multitude of reasons for that, some of which we can't control. Technology is taking over in a way that it's part of our life. And it's not a negative thing necessarily. It just is what it is. Uh, so once you've kind of figured out one angle,
Yeah.
you also do need to go continue the pie, right? You can't just be a one trick pony. So, all right, so you've attached uh, cooking to fitness, and you've got an expert in there. And talking from the student's point of view, what part of fitness really do you have like a love hate relationship with?
Me?
Yeah, do you have? Are
I
there any
love to
struggles?
exercise.
Oh,
I really
beautiful.
love to exercise. Sometimes I'm like tired and I remind myself like yesterday I was just like so tired and I was like, do I get on my Peloton bike? But I just didn't feel like it. So
Sure.
instead I'm like, Lauren, don't pressure yourself. Do something you do feel like doing. So I
Mhm.
felt like stretching. And so I did a yoga class. And so I'm like, that's fine. I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves with the exercise, just like we do with the food. Like sometimes I don't want to like do a hit workout, but it's sunny outside and I would love to go for a walk or, to go on the trail in the woods. And so just do what you feel like doing. I think
Yeah,
as long as you commit to moving your body and honoring your body every single day, that's all that matters.
I think we're on such the same page. It's insane. I just went for a run. Was it 2 days ago? It was 2 days ago. I'm in New Jersey. I'm right along the Hudson River, staring at the amazing capital of the world, New York City. And it was sunny. And it was not only sunny, it was warmer than usual. It was one of those days you get once in a while. And we've been cooped up. It's been cold. And I'm a runner. I'm a soccer player. I'm into fitness, obviously. But I am not a runner to the point where I run on a schedule.
Mhm.
It's not my thing. And I went out, and if someone looked at me, they must have thought I was a maniac. I was smiling ear to ear. I was probably an extra hop in my step, and I in that moment I wanted to like text all of my clients, all of my friends, put on an Instagram story. Like, only do it when you really want to do it, because it becomes such an enjoyable event that it pays back interest, right? If you start running or anything, for example, under duress,
Yeah.
and you have that memory. It sticks with you. There's memories to stick with you. If you were swimming as a kid, and you got stuck underwater for a little bit, you're gonna have these weird kind of, I don't know why, I'm kind of afraid of water. Well, there's a reason why. There was an
Yeah,
emotional
those
attachment to that negative
feelings.
experience.
Yeah.
So I went out for that run, and I came back. I didn't even look at the time. I don't know what it was. I was tired, but I was just a golden retriever who just came in from playing with a tennis ball for an hour outside. It was just, and that. So now we're going to go to the other component you talked about, which is the social aspect of your group, right? That also pays back dividends.
Yeah.
Um, Now you learn cooking, whether it's from watching your mom, or being at the counter. Fitness, you have a personal trainer. Clearly, it's not going to be successful if you're all by yourself. How do you get people together? How do you get a partner to kind of keep you honest, and make sure that you're pushing the needle forward?
Yeah, I think especially with COVID, I think our definition of community has changed. Like what we used to think of as your village has changed because maybe those are people that you don't really have access to anymore. And so virtually we're connecting with people and we have to kind of really um, kind of take advantage of those relationships as much as possible. So I think what I love about the group is we talk about our struggles because sometimes you feel like you're alone. You feel like you're the only one that struggles with certain things. But then when you say it out loud, you realize you're not. And I think just knowing you're not alone makes you feel better. We had one of our ladies was saying like, I've just been drinking too much, like I'm home. And I was like, girl, me too. I had to, and so I told her what I do. I said, listen, I had to only have wine on the weekends because I was finding myself like coming home like stressed out. You work out, you get dinner together, and then I'm just like wanting to relax. And then but you realize what those calories add up and and so we all are dealing with things another way. Another lady said, girl, I'm coming home every day and eating Oreos. So what she did is she gave all the Oreos to her husband. And so if she wants one, she has to ask. And so nobody wants to ask for an Oreo. So she said, like, it really cut it back so much because she's like, I don't want to have to ask for it.
Oh, that's genius.
So we just shared these little tips. And so we could all laugh, but we are like, yeah, that's a good idea.
That's
And
genius.
so, yeah, I think just helping and sharing, like to receive help and give help, like that's what it's all about. And we all have something to give, and we all have someone that we can help. It doesn't matter where you are on your health journey. Sometimes people think you have to be like perfect to help someone, but you don't.
Yeah.
We all have the potential to help someone.
Yeah. One of my favorite sayings is if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, take somebody. And that's exactly I think what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There was another I forgot who it was. Mike I forgot. My memory's garbage. Um, but it talked about treats, and they used the example of an apple pie, which I happen to love. It's like if you want an apple pie, have an apple pie. Make sure you're baking it. Make sure you know the ingredients that are going into it. Make sure you put the love into it, so you can really enjoy the fruits of your labor. Um, and then you might not be, buying a pie at whatever store and then gorging on the entire thing. You might be more likely to even share it. So
Yeah.
there's so many aspects to taking ownership of everything. Now you've got community, you've got fitness, you're cooking, and sometimes you always needed something a little bit extra, right? I know for my workouts, I generally work out with no kind of supplementation whatsoever, but sometimes, we're all human. We all can all use a boost here and there. Um, and I want to kind of talk about vitamin taking with you because I feel like, again, it's something that goes through ebbs and flows. As a kid, um, and honestly, Hanna-Barbera, kudos to you guys. The Flintstone chewable
Oh,
vitamin. Everyone knows the taste.
everybody.
It was marketed genius. I don't see any cartoon now or any generational leader branding a chewable, or right now what's really awesome are gummies.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So I did the whole chewable vitamin thing as a kid, but I'm also not the best at doing something daily. I used to have to put in my contacts daily. I got LASIK because I got lazy. um, so let's talk about vitamins, supplementation. I've happened to indulge in a company called Objective Wellness, and they make gummy vitamins. And I don't like to swallow pills, so I enjoyed the flavor because I thought I was eating candy every morning. But also, it was something that because I liked what I was doing, hence my point before, I was consistent.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I took, but you tell me what you think about vitamins and where we're going with them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think vitamins and supplements are great. I think we have to remember that they're a supplement, it's not a replacement. So, we still need to make sure that we're eating like our, nice, varied diet, a well balanced diet, because again, we're going to absorb these things best from food than we will ever from a pill. But I think just in general, it's hard for us, some people, to get all their necessary vitamins and minerals. We're in cold flu COVID season at this point. So
Yeah.
again, it's always great to just get some of the extra stuff. So I know with Objective, they have some really great products, some that I really, really love. And I was going to share with you guys today.
Yeah.
Um, one I actually have next to me because I'm in my office. Their immune wellness boost. And this is the one that has elderberry, propolis, and echinacea.
I had it.
Really, really great for your
Shape
immune
of a
system.
star, right?
Yes,
Yep.
these taste great. And you're right, like the gummies are easy to remember to take because they're like a treat.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing. I take mine and then I go to my husband, I say, put out your hand. He puts out his hand and I give him his little gummies and then we do our gummies.
I love. I feel like this poor guy. I don't think he would sustain life without you. Like,
I don't think he would either. And most people who know us don't think he would either.
lucky dude.
So lucky.
That's definitely one I took, as well as the vitamin C, which were
Yeah, the
these
vitamin C
little.
one is good. I usually alternate them because they both actually have vitamin C in them, but
Okay.
just the immune wellness also has the elderberry, propolis, and echinacea, which are all like powerful antioxidants. Elderberry we all think about with cold and flu season. Propolis is actually made from bees. It's been
Oh,
around for centuries and centuries. Actually, like the Egyptians used to use it when they prepared the mummies, so it's been like around forever. But it's just super anti-inflammatory and it's great.
it's amazing. There's so much we could talk about honey itself and how intricate it is and how interwoven it is with the environment and eating locally and all that. Let's,
Yeah,
I just realized, Lauren, we could probably talk for a while, you and I, but we
probably.
only we have a finite period of time. Um, there was another one that actually I gave to my dad, and actually I think it says for adults use only. A lot of people are on the computer a lot more, right? If they're in
Mhm.
Zoom meetings, or what have you.
Yeah.
And he actually complained to me that his eyes, and he's a retired guy who's on the computer leisurely. His eyes were just getting tired, and my mom as well. And so I got something from Objective Wellness, and it's a powder that you
Yeah.
mix with
Eye
it.
chills.
Yes. And again, they solved another way of taking a vitamin without
Yeah.
swallowing a pill, right? You just dissolve it in water. That one tastes good as hell. I think it's orange.
Yeah, it's like orangey berry flavor. Yeah, that one's good. I get so many people who come to me with because we're working from home, so people are spending so much time in front of their computer or on their cell phones, and it's the blue light. The blue light goes right through our eyes. It goes right back to the back of the retina, and it can cause damage known as macular degeneration.
Sure.
And that's basically when you have loss of your central vision. So you can see peripherally, but you can't see centrally. So it's really important that we're not doing that. So this powder actually has very high concentrations of two substances, one called lutein and the other one called zeaxanthin.
Okay.
And those substances are actually found in things like egg yolks and spinach, but the concentration is so high in these. It actually makes like it forms like a cushion, not one that you can actually see or anything,
Yeah.
but forms a cushion between the lens, the retina, and the macula to just kind of protect against all that blue light pigmentation that for so many people can cause. I see a lot of people that come in for headaches. Really, that's what they come in with. They say their head hurts, and it's kind of vague. And I'm like, trying to figure out what it is, and it's all the blue light stimulation. But it can make your eyes tired. It could just make you kind of feel weird. So
Yeah.
these are great. I love these too. And again, you just dissolve them in like 8 to 10 ounces of water. You shake it up, and you're
We
good
should
to go.
be we should be drinking more water anyway. I'll be I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say, "Do as I say, not as I do." And you know what's funny? And I thought about this. Um, a lot of the vitamins, right, that we take, if you learn what's in them, those are naturally occurring substances in
Yeah,
food. And you'll see an X in the word of like, oof, it was made in a lab somewhere. Da, 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 da. Well, no, not if you eat where it came from.
yeah,
Like I remember as a kid, my dad, both my parents were always saying like, make sure you eat carrots because they're good for your eyes. And yeah, but there's lots of great stuff in carrots that would help out your eye health. Now, you don't just eat one thing for one thing,
yeah.
but I believe, and you could probably hopefully reinforce this, is if you eat the colors of the rainbow, you're probably doing a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell my patients try to eat, like your plate should have at least 3 to 4 colors, because you want to get a diverse range of vitamins and minerals. So oftentimes I say vitamins travel in colors. So certain things are in different colors. So that's why you want to eat things that, your plate have multiple colors so that you get kind of like a diverse nutrient profile.
And for those that have picky eaters at home, my nieces are pretty picky. Um, just I want you to envision a kid's kind of like reaction when you make a blue potato for them. They're like, "Wait, what the hell is this?" And it tastes like a damn good potato, but
It
they will
does.
actually eat that because it's blue, or actually it's kind of purple looking.
Yeah.
Um, what else have you? I want you to talk about what you've actually produced content wise, because I think you've got a lot of valuable information. You already have an ebook out there, right? What's that called? And then tell us about your actual. There's a hardcover book.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have ebook. It's just like a quick little 10 recipe budget friendly cookbook. And you just go to dinnerwithdrlauren.com. You can download that for free. And then I have another book. It's called Food Essentials for the Busy Professional. And it
Okay.
basically is a book that, and you can get that on Amazon or you can get it on my website, drlaurenpowell.com. But it's basically like a book that answers every question that you could have about food. Like if it's 10 o'clock at night and the only thing open is fast food, how am I supposed to be healthy? Or if I'm on vacation, I'm in Vegas for a wedding, like how am I supposed to be healthy? If I'm on a budget, how am I supposed to be healthy? If my kids are picky eaters, like how am I supposed to be healthy? So it just answers all of these questions that all plague us, and we just kind of like
Sure.
scramble and figure it out. And so these are like solutions. Like this is how, as a busy person, you can still be healthy within these different situations. So that it kind of answers all that. And it's a quick read. I wrote it at like a 6th grade level. So it should be, even my dad, he read it. He's like, this was so good. And I'm like, this is the stuff I like been saying to you for the past like 2 decades of my life. But, um, you know,
Yeah, I can go for days about like I've given my parents some of these objective wellness supplements and vitamins. but we've spoken ad nauseum about this stuff too. And it kind of reminds you that like your parents, they raised you, they put food on the plate, they led you to the person you are today, but they're people like you and I. They probably have the same insecurities about the same things physically, and they want to work out, but they'd rather take a diet pill or whatever. Those are our parents, and those are our cousins and our grandmothers and our grandfathers and our sisters and brothers. So we all have the struggles, is what I'm trying to say. And sometimes just reminding them over and over again isn't going to work. It's always like taking a different approach.
Yeah.
So I do I do love that they're like, yeah, I've been telling you that the entire time. um Now I want to talk about briefly, because I think we've all been hit over the head with the COVID hammer, but I think one of the things we haven't spoken about is, clearly there's too many negatives to talk about. But armchair armchair quarterback, right? I think that's what they call the person on Monday morning quarterback, whatever the term is. We can look back now and think, okay, well, if this isn't a call to action about just taking care of yourself broadly, because that's your first line of defense, right? If you have no underlying conditions and in which you can control them, that's your first line of defense from a healthy standpoint, right? But
Yeah.
moving beyond that, we're in the midst of it, right? So a lot of us have to be inside a lot
Mm.
of the time, and being inside a lot of the time, that we develop a vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah.
Is that what do we do for the some of these things that we didn't even realize that we're going through? Probably like a vitamin D deficiency, or just overall a little bit, heightened stress. Well, what
Yeah,
would you
I mean, vitamin
recommend?
D deficiency is actually very common. I think it's like 40% of Americans tend to be vitamin D deficient, and that's like pre-pandemic. African Americans, that percentage goes up to like 70%, tend to be
Wow.
deficient in vitamin D, and that's because we have melanin in our skin. And so what happens is we have vitamin D in our skin, all of us do, but it's inactive, and so we need the sunlight to convert it to the active form. And so with African Americans, it's difficult for the sun to penetrate our melanin to make that conversion. So in general, African Americans tend to be more deficient. So so vitamin D is something I always check at a patient's physical. It's something that sometimes I have to fight the insurance to cover it, but I'd say like 90% of the time I check it, it's low. And so I just tell the insurance it was low. Like, but you don't
Yeah.
know till you check it, but you have to check it to know. And so depending on what number we're at is depending on how much you need to just replace it.
Is
The
that a
same thing.
specific test? Sorry to interrupt you. Is that a
Yeah,
specific
it's just
test
a
you'd have
blood
to?
test. It's just a vitamin D level.
So
Yep.
if you were to take like your annual physical, for
Yeah.
example, would you probably have to mention it to your primary care that you want a vitamin D test as well
Yeah, I
as
would just
as
mention
part of
it.
it?
Some docs just do it like me. And then sometimes you have to mention it because, again, sometimes we get a lot of pushback from insurance companies. But some patients are like, I don't care if I have to pay $50 for the test. Like,
Sure.
if I fight them and they still, so yeah, I would just mention that, it's something that you want to know. And it's a very simple, standard blood test. It's not like a special send out blood test or anything like that. And
Okay.
so just depending on the level depends on how much you need to replace. So generally, I like to see patients in the 30s at least for their vitamin D level, but I have all kind of ranges. I mean, I checked my husband's vitamin D level like maybe a month ago, and my husband does not like to go outside like at all, just in life in general. He's not like an outdoorsy person, and his level was 10, so it was really really
Mm.
low. And so I put him on like a high dose supplement and kind of getting his levels up. But I've seen levels as low as 5, and I'm like, how are you still like sitting here? And then it's one of those things where people are often deficient for so long that they won't say they feel bad because it's just like they felt this way for so long
Sure.
until we replace their levels, and then it's like a normal level and they're like, man, I feel so much better. I didn't even know, like, I guess I was fatigued. Like, you don't even know you feel bad until you start to feel good, and then you're like, I guess that was me feeling bad.
I, I was going to ask, and maybe this is too broad of a question, but vitamin D, if you're deficient, what are the symptoms? What are the systems that a vitamin D deficient human is
I
going
mean, it's
through?
important for a lot of symptoms, a lot of systems of the body. It's important for obviously our bone health. It's important for fertility. It's important for cognitive it's just important for so many things.
Sure.
But it's kind of vague, so that's why you're not going to come in and say like, I think my vitamin D is low, because it's just like so vague.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's something we just kind of have to check with your physical to see where you're at.
You know what? Maybe that's why people kind of crave, besides, warm sandy beaches and a pina colada. If you're in the Northeast, you kind of crave a little bit of sun come February. You might be
Yeah.
feeling the blues in a vitamin D kind of way.
Yeah, for sure. And I always try to, tell people still spend, if you can, 15 to 30 minutes outdoors. Like I tell my husband, if you can go outside between the hours of, 10 a.m. and 3 when the sun is out and just sit outside, like whatever, if you're sitting at home, looking at your phone, just sit outside on the porch for those, 20 to 30 minutes and play on your phone and at least get a little bit of sunlight.
Yeah. Um, I mentioned before, obviously, I've come from Italian immigrant parents, and the way the old school Italian dinner would go is you'd actually eat your salad last, I believe. It's like
Mhm.
it's all backwards compared to how someone would eat in this country. But you'd always have some kind of pasta dish in the beginning. Then you'd follow that up with either a meat, chicken, or fish, secondi, aka second, and then you'd have a salad, and then you'd have fruit afterwards. And my brother and I would really, by the end of it, first off, we were full.
Yeah.
Secondly, who the hell wants to eat fruit after eating all that? So my brother oftentimes would like learn magic tricks, probably how to like throw a peach outside the window or whatever it was. But um, I grew up eating that way, and again, it was wholesome. It was complete, and usually it came from, uh, actually, it always came from the stove or the oven. Um, can we please dispel the myth that pasta is terrible for you? Especially because I always remind people that every food has a reason, right? And maybe pasta's not great if you're gonna sit on your butt for the next couple of days or hours because it is a carb. But then there also are complex carbs if you're having a whole wheat pasta or something like that. Can we please lift the veil and say pasta, you're okay? I need to do this for my Italian people out there.
Yeah, I'd say, it's not bad. It's not a vegetable, but it is a carbohydrate. So I think we do have to just be mindful of how much that we're eating.
Sure.
And you're right that we have to be mindful of how much we're expending. Like, if you're an active person, my husband gets on the Peloton and he'll burn 1,200 calories. Well, heck yeah, he can have pasta. Like he's burning like the amount of calories that I eat in a whole day. So
Sure.
if you've earned it, you can have it. And I think there's ways that we can still make it nutritious. I think we can add vegetables to our sauce. I use a lot of bonza noodles, which are made out of chickpeas, which have tons of
Same.
fiber and protein. So those are kind of like the main noodles that we have in the house. But every once in a while, I will do a treat and do like a flour noodle, which is delicious. But again, we're mindful of our portions. We're not overindulging. We're not having it every night because we probably haven't burned enough calories to need that many calories and that
Hmm.
much carbs. But I mean, I think too much of anything is not good. I think we
Sure.
need to just be mindful of all of the things that we eat.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that sounds more than logical, right? Also, by the way, I it just occurred to me. I remember I'm constantly reading something, but they're all small quips, and then I researched to see if it was reputable and all that stuff. I'm not a big reader of books, unfortunately. Um, but one of the biggest trends that aids us in overeating, the size of plates.
Yeah.
Plates themselves physically are larger. So you're putting more in the plate. It's kind of it's like, wow, there's so many small things
Yeah.
that are nuanced.
That's like mindful eating. So I always eat out of a saucer because saucers are smaller, right? And so, your mind gets tricked if you see this overflowing saucer, you feel like you're getting a lot of food. And so that's the biggest thing with eating out to eat. People are always like, how can I be healthy if I'm eating out, if I'm going out to eat? The thing about when we go out to eat is the portions. Like they just give you so much food. So
Yeah.
like one thing I always do when I go out to eat is I'll just ask the waitress, like, yes, I want the salmon dish, but can you just whatever's on the plate, can you cut it in half and just put half of it in a to-go box and just bring me half of the plate?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, okay. But yeah, I think when we have a big plate, the tendency is to fill that plate. And then what happens is we just eat and we eat and we eat and we don't know we're full until the plate is empty and we're like, oh, guess I'm full, rather
Mm.
than just like, taking cues from your body and recognizing like I've had enough to eat.
Yeah. Having a little bit of water with your dinner, whatever beverage you're having. You're right. Because listen, if I'm running a restaurant, I want you to come back again. You're going to come back again if you're satisfied, not
Yeah.
if you're like, well, that was kind of really small. So yeah, You're right. It's being conscious of what you're doing. Um, we do have to tie this up soon because we're running out of time. But take us back to, you live in Atlanta now,
Yeah,
which the temperatures lead you to outdoor activity, maybe gardening. What if, take us back to your childhood? You were born and raised in where?
Detroit, outside of Detroit.
Pretty damn cold.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So speak to your roots. If you're living in Detroit, what are you doing to stay active and stay healthy and eat locally if you're in Detroit, knowing that right now you're kind of lucky?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Detroit like my whole life up until residency. And my husband is from Florida. And so I ended up doing my residency in Florida and I ended up there because of him. Otherwise, I probably would have never left Michigan. I love Michigan. It was like
Yeah.
everything to me. And so once I moved there to Florida and there was no snow, there was no like cleaning off your car 30 minutes before you have to go somewhere. Like we didn't have to do any of that stuff. I thought to myself, why did I ever do that? Like that is crazy the way that we lived. But and so I even have patients here in Georgia. It was like 50 degrees today. Patients tell me I can't go outside, it's cold, and it's because they're from the South and so they can't stand. So what I say is if you don't feel comfortable being outside, which in Michigan sometimes it's hard because in the winter it gets so dark and we only
Yeah.
have so many hours of sunshine. You have to come up with something you can do in your home. You don't have to have a lot of space, but if you're not going to feel comfortable doing something outdoors, we have to think about something that you can feel comfortable doing inside. So today I had a patient, we talked about it. And so I convinced her because she doesn't feel comfortable walking anymore. She lost her walking partner and she doesn't feel comfortable walking alone. I said, we have to get you a stationary bike and you
Yeah.
can ride your bike at home in the
Yeah.
garage. So she said, okay, I'll have my grandkids get me it for Christmas. So we have to think about something that we can do that we feel comfortable with, that's sustainable. There is no, I'll see when the pandemic is over because we
Right.
don't know what life is going to be. We don't know what the new normal is going to be.
Sure.
And so we have to live right now and we have to take care of our health right now. We can't wait.
Solve
So
for now. Solve for now, right? We
all for
don't
now.
know what the future holds. And if anything, if you solve for now, it makes the later much easier to keep going. Because if you want to develop this habit later, oh, it's gonna be so much harder, later on than right now to kind of maintain. Yeah, no, great. It's great. It's great advice. Um, we're looking at 2021, right? We know it's going to be a better year. Uh, what are you going to work towards? What would you recommend for people? Take us away. What should we look forward from you, the culinary doctor?
So my goal in 2021, I really want to help people like put a check mark on those health goals. Because I feel like when it comes to a new year, right, we write these resolutions, but I think we write the same thing in a different way every year. So like let's do it. Like you want to get your health together, like let's do it. You want to get active, like let's do it. You want to eat better, let's do it. Like let's cross this off the list. Let's have new problems. Like let's not have the same problems over. I tell my patients like whenever my patients come in for their physical, I look at their physical from last year and I follow up on all the same stuff. I said, why are we talking about the same stuff? Let's talk about new problems. You weren't exercising last year.
Yeah. Oh God, I
Why are we
love that. Let's
talking
have
about
let's have new problems. I
Let's
love
have
that.
new problems.
Yes.
Same thing in relationships, right? We don't have the same problem. Let's squash that and get new and have new ones.
A hundred
So
percent. A hundred
I
percent.
really want to help women, and that's like my mission with my membership is to really just reach more women and like attain wellness, like reach our health goals and maintain them. And let's just get that part of our life together and move on.
It's so much about empowerment, and the word power in there, people almost forget it is actually a superpower if you understand your own kind of your own direction. I watch a lot of business news these days just because it's less inflammatory and I have some time to read. So and I think one of the biggest keys that was a tip to investors was watch what your girlfriend or your wife or your mom or your grandmother or your sister is purchasing, or watch what they're doing because they are driving the market. And it's like, wow, if you realize that you are, I'm speaking as if I'm a woman, if I am driving the market, the power that you have and the power that you uh, wield is amazing. It's just
Amazing.
just lighting that up. Like, do you know this? Now that you know this, like, get on with it, right? I'm with you. That's why Nike is $1 billion company. the whole just do it.
Yeah.
Let's get new problems. I love all these little quips. Um, Dr. Lauren Powell, it's been amazing. I'm so glad that we got to talk today. We're going to try to follow you on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
Dr. Lauren Powell.
I love that you keep it simple. And your website.
drlaurenpowell.com.
It's like repetitive, right? Let's get in their heads.
Yeah.
You've got a book coming out, food
Food
essentials
essentials for
for
the
the
busy
busy
professional.
professional.
That's
Uh,
out.
is it out right now?
Yep, that's out. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on my website.
Awesome. Your ebook is What's for Dinner.
Yep. So you can go to
Um,
dinnerwithdrlauren.com and get that for free.
and hopefully, if people are really, really, really motivated and they want to join your group, how would they do that? They would just connect with you on your website?
Yep. On my website, if you just click the tab that says membership, that's all the information there.
Awesome, awesome. And you and I have both experienced very positive outcomes, I guess we'll call it, with Objective Wellness, with
Yes, love
their
that.
their their line of vitamins. They taste delicious, by the way. I didn't really realize. I'm like, I just need some vitamin C. Oh, it's candy. So thanks to them for supporting us as well. Again, thank you again. Onwards to a great 2021.
You too.
Thanks, Lauren. Take care.